Peace and blessings. It is your girl Carice with the Alchemy Priestess Podcast. It may not look like a motherfucking podcast to you, but as long as I'm sitting here with a mic in my hand and I'm here for an extended amount of time talking, it's a podcast to me, and that's all that matters. So today I wanted to speak about being deliberate with your creation and living by design. We've mastered living by default representing your subconscious mind. But living by design takes effort, it takes discipline, it takes self-awareness, it takes noticing which aspect of yourself you're moving from and moving with. So, creating by default is a representation of your subconscious mind and how you are in a program and a loop within yourself. Every day you wake up on the same side of the bed. Every morning you grab your phone. That's the first thing that you look at. You go to the same places. You deal with the same people. You complain about the same shit. You're always in a victim mentality. And it's just a replay over and over and over again. And you're in a very robotic space of being. And living by default is not your fault. It's just what you've been associated with, what you've been given, what you've been taught, what you've allowed yourself to believe, and things that you're still holding on to. And it's a very safe place. And it's a safe place because it's familiar territory, no matter how it feels. And oftentimes we're great self-sabotagers because we know that we want better and desire to do better, but then we get ourselves into this procrastination of ourselves where we decide not to go with what our heart is speaking, and we remain in that designing by default. So the reason why it's a design is because you are the creator or the creatress of your reality, the physical, tangible reality. And everything that you currently have in your cipher in this moment is your creation. And when we look out into nature and creation, oftentimes the majority of us will take time out and take vacations in order to enjoy the abundance of nature. And we embrace the design of nature because we know how glorious it is and how it makes us feel. Whenever we go on vacation or do things, it's always about a feeling, how I feel when I go on vacation. Some of those will be, I'm relaxed, I feel good, I can breathe better. I love the spaces that I'm in. The energy is great. It's all a feeling. And we give ourselves the timing and the money and the energy and the scheduling in order to get to that design that the creator has made. But when it comes to our own design, we second guess ourselves. And we second guess ourselves because we don't see ourselves as God. We see ourselves in this human form, and we take on that mundane aspect and that mundane energy of ourselves, not realizing that we too are the creator, as we were made in the image and likeness of. And it's not so much about a destination that we need to continue to bloom or grow in or see ourselves or get to know ourselves. It's in this present moment. In this present moment, me being in a parking lot with a bunch of other people living their lives, and me being in my spaceship, being able to commune and have this conversation of this life that I've chosen for myself while living van life. And this is my creation. This was once a thought that was here. It was a part of my vision. It was a part of my light coming from my pineal gland that I kept searing and searing and searing my energy into until I made it tangible in my life, because I realized and knew, not believed, but knew that I was the creatress of my life, and still know that I am the creatress of my life. So I went from creating my life from default to now creating my life by design. And so, as I was saying earlier, we give honor and praises to the Creator and the design that the Creator has given externally by getting into nature and taking trips and doing certain things. Yet, we don't give ourselves that same energy. It's somewhat of an escapism, if you really sit back and think about it, escaping your present moment in order to jump in to another dimension of thinking that that new dimension is going to make you feel better. But the key to it all is always yourself. And the key to it all is realizing that that same energy that you give the Creator in the external world by taking a vacation to beautiful places exists right in here. And it exists right in here. And it exists right in here. And being able to live in wholeness and balance with oneself is where you begin to harness the true divinity that is within. It's always been, always will be. It's infinite. And so that same beauty that we desire and that we take breaks for in the external world, you have to do that within yourself, because this is where the true design is always at. And so when you begin to live by design, you begin to create intentionally. And when you're creating intentionally, you wake up every day now making your inner self a fucking priority. It's not the external of picking up my phone and seeing what everybody else has going on in their lives. Because what about yours? You know? And the same energy that we give onto others, which is a distraction, which is chaos, is the same energy that you have to invest in yourself. And standing in the center of your cipher, taking a break, and taking in a deep breath and exhaling to center yourself and to tell the brain, this is where we're standing at the moment. We're not wandering. And then jumping out of the physical and then viewing everything around you and your cipher, the spiraling that's happening within and without. The vision changes, and what you see isn't what you used to see. And there's power in that, because now that you're living intentional, everything that you do, say, move, invest in, have sex with, have intimate conversations with, all of these things have to matter. Because you're no longer living for the victim self. You're no longer living for the romanticizing, how horrible your life is, because that's romance too. You're just romancing the shitty aspect of your life, but it's still a part of your life. You're romanticizing with it, because you've become one with it. You have a relationship. You have this intimate exchange now with this aspect of you, this image that you've held on to, that's keeping you from all of the divinity that is here for us to obtain. There's nothing new under the sun. There's nothing to create. When I use the word creator or creatress, it's about alignment. It's about aligning yourself to the things that you envision. Being intentional is creation. And so there's an aspect of us that is rooted in knowing all that we deserve and all that we are. And we came here into this experience to feel it once again. And it's already known. It's already known. Through the subconscious, it's already known. We came here knowing. But it's the feeling now. It's the depths of the feeling, the experience. So through deliberate choice and repetition and being intentional. Oops, forgot my mic. I've been making my videos without it, so I have to get used to it. But yes, through deliberate creation, alignment, repatterning, reprogramming yourself, you begin to nourish yourself in different spaces. And, the depths of this world are really dwelled within the unseen aspect of everything. The eyes can only perceive a fraction of what is really going on. And if you close your eyes for a minute and just be still, you will realize that everything still exists within the darkness, even though your eyes are closed. The noises still exist. The realities going around you still exist. So the only purpose of our eyes is to receive information and to compute for the mind to work, because that is how we came. Other than that, everything that exists in darkness. And to get so wrapped up in the physicality of this world, not realizing that the unseen realms and the darkness of oneself is where the truth is, you become delusional in your life. Delusion is good if you're using it intentionally. Everything is about intentions, right? So if you're being intentional about it, then of course it's going to benefit you. But if you're living in delusion of not knowing or believing something that is stripping you away from what truly dwells within, then it's not so much of the journey that one seeks. Everybody usually seeks a journey of wanting something better than where they're currently at. And it's tangible and it's possible because everything around you, everything here that you see around me, everything I'm wearing, from earrings to my mic to even my Palo Santo, was all a thought, concentrated thought that was concentrated on for such an amount of time that it now has become tangible. The same power that's created this, my ash, my phones, my sign, is in you. It's in me. But why do we constantly consider ourselves to be less than and not create something greater for ourselves through intentions, and aligning ourselves through intention? So, yeah, deliberate creation, and being intentional with your life. Again, creation is you being intentional with self. There is nothing new under the sun. There is nothing for you to go out there and try to do, because we are living in infinite waters of possible experiences. Anything that you want is already here, whether you can see it or not. And we second guess ourselves a lot because we don't see ourselves as the divine gods that we are. Remember, we are made in the image and likeness. And that could be your mantra. I am made in the image and likeness. Why don't I feel like that sometimes? Because of this. The mind is a drifter. The mind is a time traveler. The mind loves to, play the movie. It loves to indulge in different identities, and it loves to create chaos. It loves to create and paint a picture that hasn't even existed or doesn't even exist, and you have to be able to learn how to detach and use it and not allow it to use you, because most of the times we know where we're going and what we want to do by how we feel. This is your internal GPS. As we say, your intuition. The more And the deeper you get connected with yourself, there is nothing or no one that could ever deceive you except this. And this is why a lot of times there are certain men and women that will shun upon individuals like myself, because their spirit already knows that the fuckery that they are dealing with will not be tolerated. And we will demand authenticity. We will demand accountability. And 99% of the time, the only time we ever ask questions is to see if your integrity is intact, so we know how to maneuver ourselves. We all have this. This is all just beautiful energies that we can tap into, but we don't allow ourselves. And you have to ask yourself why. If we're living in the infinite waters of possibilities, why do we choose not to be able to dive in to create a different reality for ourselves? Where is this stumbling block coming from? Where is this mental thought coming from? Is it a program? Conditioning? Are you living your mother? Are you living your father? Are you living a false identity? I honestly feel with my life, because it flows so beautifully, and before I was mixed in the chaos, that our lives are meant to be beautiful. They really are. But contrast is required in order to experience this reality that we are currently in. Contrast is required. But the depths of that contrast and how long you stay in it is your perspective and your perception of it, and the energy that you're emitting around you. It's like your energy field. You have this energy field around you. And if you are not taking the initiative to cleanse and to be an alchemist and to channel and to get rid of debris, and like I said in one of my other videos, a computer operating system. That is what we are. We have downloads, we have viruses. You need to upload, download. You have to know when you get an alert that something is off. You need to listen before you get shut down. That's your intuition letting you know what's going on, the physicality of it. If you have a virus, you're going to have to clean that shit out in order for you to work at the optimum speed that you want for yourself. And not only that, but to keep up with the transitions in the ethers. Because once the ethers begin to transition in the energy fields that they're providing for us to receive downloads, if it doesn't recognize you, you're going to go through a lot of chaos, because you're fighting against it. You're not riding the wave. You're just getting on any wave that comes your way. That's not meant for you, because you can't recognize what is for you. So it's still a beautiful journey, because at the end of the day, you're still going to get to your destination. You're just going to have to experience certain things until you fucking get it. Until you realize that you are made in the image and likeness of the all. Everything is a reflection of self. Everything. Nothing is ever going to miss you. Nothing is ever going to bypass you. What is yours is already here. It's just waiting for you to say yes. It's waiting for you to invite it in. It's waiting for you to release the shackles of your mind so that you can receive. Some of us are addicted to romanticizing trauma. Maybe that should be a different topic. And I think I'm going to make that a different topic. Hold on, because I actually need to... Hey, Google. Create a note.
First, you'll need to connect Google Workspace to turn on this extension.
I'm so tired of these phones. Let me just put my own note in, because it's just doing a lot. I need to do it now so I don't forget. Romanticizing suffering in our lives. Okay. Okay, so now that I have that as a note in my phone, romanticizing suffering in our lives. Boy, oh boy, oh boy. I see that a lot. And some of it comes through spirituality. It's cloaked in spirituality because, other means and ways haven't worked. So let's try to cloak the romanticizing suffering through spirituality and see if that allows us to stay in the frequency a lot longer. It's a whole other topic for another day. I have that written down though. But yeah, so, we just have to really allow ourselves to feel through this current existence and take yourself into spaces that you are so-called fearful of. It's through the abyss of oneself. It's through the depths of oneself. It's through the fear that you've entangled yourself with. It's through the unknown that you don't want to step into that is where you really need to be diving into, and you need to be diving it with your whole being, and there's nothing to be fearful of in this life. It's just being able to recognize all that you are and to remember yourself again. And sometimes you have to dismember in order to remember oneself, meaning the old ways of how you are, your thoughts, your projections, all of that. Your whole life is a movie, and it's this frequency game that we're on, and the downloads that have been coming in for me have not only shaken my life externally, but it's shaken a lot internally. And I could sit here and people will look at me as if I'm going through something, because especially if my mom didn't have Alzheimer's right now, she would have a fucking heart attack just because of how I am. This is not who I raised. I got a bunch of tattoos. I have piercings. I just shaved my head. I'm living in a van, shaved my head. I'm living in a van. And, she would be like totally disappointed because she comes from a different construct of life. She comes from a different frequency. And there's always the black sheep of the family. And that is me. I am the revolutionary of my life. And I remain in this space of wanting to be the rebel and going against the grain and not being part of a societal stigma that a woman should be a certain way all the time. That's just not my energy, and it's just not where I want to be, and that's being intentional. I'm intentional every single day with how I move. And I do believe that there are certain contracts that we come here with through our journeys that require us to let go of and shed in order for the newness to arrive. I go through it all the time. I believe change is very important, and I'm very deliberate with my change because I want to be able to know what it's like to go against everything that I was taught, and to also go against everything that I've been programmed to believe. And a lot of that requires shedding. It's like a snake, which is why I love snakes. It's a shedding of oneself according to the season. And you have to be intentional with that. It begins to be automatic in your life. A snake doesn't have to decide when or where. It's just part of its nature. And it has to release. It may not feel comfortable, but it has to release in order for it to grow and to keep growing and to get, longer and fatter. And, that's just part of its nature, and for it to get bigger and expansive, and of course, that's just one example, but to continuously live this life by default is not doing yourself any justice, because you begin to play the victim of your life and you begin to look externally to everybody else. And you'll know when you're living from a space of true divinity when you see yourself playing the victim by blaming everything that's external, your parents, your job, your friends, your relationship. All of these things are completely against you, and you're not allowed to get to where you want to go because of them, your circumstances, your environment. That's how you know that you're really not living in wholeness, because somebody who lives in wholeness and in balance with themselves recognize that everything that is happening to them in their world is just a reflection of the thought forms that are being emitted into the ethers, and just being, it's like a boomerang. You're throwing it out and it's coming right back to you. You're throwing it out and it's coming right back to you. And that's the thing. You don't have to change the throwing it out and coming back in. You just have to change the way and the perception of when you're throwing it out so it can come back in. I always say that there's nothing happening to you. Everything is happening through you. Then everything comes back and it's happening for you because it's you, right? Made in the image and likeness of. So, yeah, just be more rebellious with being able to let yourself be, and, to be more in tune with what your path is really about and what your journey is really about, and to acknowledge that everything that you desire already exists. You just have to learn how to live by design and no longer by default. And your subconscious mind is your default. And you need to learn how to reprogram that bitch and to give it new information. So the thought forms and all of that ignite something new in your experience. And it doesn't have to be anything grandiose. Start with little things. Put on some affirmations with binaural beats while you sleep. Let it play. There's some out there that I use on YouTube that are like 8 hours. So when I wake up, I'm still in that frequency. I'm still in that energy. So instead of me waking up, getting on my phone or, whatever, getting into my thoughts, because I think you have like a couple of minutes that you're in that wave of being able to, really take that energy into another space, you're still in that affirmative state because you can hear it while you wake up. And so you're affirming even while you're awake. So those are like my best things, because I feel like music with affirmations is the most powerful thing, and especially music that has frequencies and hertz attached to it is one of the most powerful things that you can do, because everything is sound, everything is vibration. Everything else externally, my Palo Santo, yeah, it'll clear the energy field around me, it'll cleanse the energy field around me, but we're doing the inward work. The inward is where the fuck we need to be. Here is what we need to, where we need to be. Here is what we need to be. Mind and heart coherence. They collab as one, and so when you're off balance, then you're going to experience things that are going to, be a little shifty in your life. Then you're going to wonder why things are not going the way that you want them to go on a consistent basis. Some things happen like that because it's just not meant for your ass. Be grateful for that. What you want is not necessarily is always good for your soul, but you have to be able to know the difference. That's another thing. And this is why you have to be keen on being in tune with yourself. Self above all things. Forget everybody else. And I don't mean forget everybody else like to not indulge and have fun and all of that, but you got to make yourself a priority. Make this a priority. Make this beat again as it should, in rhythm. So, topic. Always create by design, never by default. Conquer that subconscious mind. And I don't mean you have to do a lot of work. It's just about renewing your new thoughts again, your patterns, creating new patterns. Not living in that robotic state of yourself. That's just on default. That's just getting up and doing this in the same mundane schedules every day. Challenge yourself. Be fearless. Go out there, change. That's what this life is about. We're multidimensional beings. We're infinite beings with limitless possibilities. So thank you for coming to the Alchemy Priestess Podcast, and I will see you guys on the other side in the image and likeness of